All right, hey there traders, Sam here back with a follow-up video on the latest addition to our lineup of tools and indicators. This is the GRIDAlgo system. It is a complete system applied now to Quantower. Now we've started developing and converting more and more of our most popular indicators over to Quantower. You'll see that continue. This is we like this platform. It has some inherent advantages over Ninja based on the architecture it's built upon. So you'll see more and more of our indicators coming over to Quantower. But for the time being, I think we've got 3 or 4 ASP, of course, is available on Quantower, and now the GRIDAlgo system. So as some of you have seen, I did sort of an introductory video on NinjaTrader. I want to do the same thing here. Now I'm recording this on Friday. The markets are closed. I can probably take that off. Let's disable that. So we'll go back. I don't think we need to do much more in terms of setup and application. Well, I've got a trending day on Wednesday, right? And then I've got a trendless range day on Thursday, which is not surprising, day before a long weekend. And we are defining that. This is literally the definition of a trendless day. We're contained with few exceptions here by the initial balance, right? So no trend, not surprising after all the volatility that we've had going into a holiday weekend. If we back it up a day here, we've got another opening range here and then a massive downtrend, right? Then we recover back to the back, right? So we'll get into some of that. Here I've just drawn them in because the native opening range indicator within Quantower only shows you the most recent day. So this is always a solution for those of you that don't have an initial balance indicator, right? You can always draw them in yourself. It's a little, kind of a pain, but better than not having them there. Okay, so let's start on Friday. Now you may not recognize it yet, but these are Renko bars. I'll open them up here so you can see it. Let's go. We'll start at the beginning of the day. Now these are default recommendations, as I mentioned in the Ninja videos that I did. We did not design this system. We were working with the coder, the guy who developed this. He has a bit of a following, and we were looking at ways to work together. Ultimately, we just decided that we would buy it from him, and that worked out for both parties. So we are now the exclusive distributor of this product, and we own the IP. So this is only available now through TradeDevils-Indicators, and let's just dig right into it. Now, because this is it's essentially, right, we're importing this from the designer's his user base and his criteria. The defaults are a good place to start. So per his recommendation, he likes to use these with Renko bars. It's not that you couldn't use it with other types of bars. It's a momentum-based system. Renko certainly is a momentum-based approach to the market, right? It's a bit of a trade-off here. It does lend itself quite well. Renko charts lend themselves. There's always a trade-off, right, in trading, right? So there's a little bit of a trade-off with Renko bars. But for a momentum-based system here, it can be very effective because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the bursts of momentum like this. Now, Thursday was a difficult day, right? If you're a Renko trader, this kind of stuff will just absolutely kill you. Now, one thing about Renko that it's hard not to like is it really shows you the market structure very clearly. So, of course, there's going to be a microstructure and a larger macro structure here. These are 30 range bricks, I guess we would call them. It's essentially a uni Renko bar, right? It's no different than RTD uni Renko. Little bit of a setup here that you need to adjust to create a uni Renko here within QT. So let's just go over that very quickly. So you do want a Renko bar here. Period of 1 ticks is going to be a 30 brick size here. You want to go with the advanced classic and 50-50 for inversion extensions. That will give you by default, right? It's essentially a uni Renko bar. So for the hang on, that takes a second to reload. Okay, there we go. Now, a 30 brick or a 30 range Renko bar in the NQ, 30 is not much. So you're going to see, I can barely, even if I scrunch it up, I can barely get a full day on. In fact, I can't, right? So these are relatively small little micro swings here. And as I kind of caution, right? So it depends, right? If you've got a lot of experience trading with Renko, if you don't, the thing with Renko, it's a bit deceptive to your eye in terms of the amount of risk that you're taking. So you have to understand the way the bars are shaped. So here with a 30 brick size here for a uni Renko, well, you're going to need a stop greater than 60 ticks on either side, because we can go up 29 and then down 30 and still just, well, that would be kind of an example, right, where you're going up, we don't get enough to create the new bar, but then we're coming down the other direction. So just a word of caution, it requires you can't be trading a 50 tick stop, or you'll be stopped at intra bar, which is you can't trade Renko. You'll be stopped 5 times here. Right? So you just got to be aware of that and adjust your stop and your size accordingly. Now, when Renko is ripping, like a move like this, right? Again, this is for those of you that have traded Renko. A move like that can happen in 12 seconds, right? I mean, just right? They just hammer, right? Because there's no time related here. It's just do we have the burst of momentum here to drive that bar creation here until it stops, right? And then retrace. As I said, it really does a nice job of highlighting the market structure. So it's not my go-to, right? Always in terms of what I would use, and I'm going to show you this on just a 1 minute candlestick chart as well. But because the creator of this, right, emphasized the Renko, I think we'll start there. I don't want to discourage the Renko. It's just another choice you have to make. But it's not like this is only going to be effective on a Renko chart. It's just not the case, right? So, I mean, price is price, right? It's just how you're defining the ranges here. So that said, let me just put these pieces together one at a time. I think that's the best way to kind of conceptualize what it's doing. So again, why it's called GRIDAlgo, I can't tell you. Right? Again, we didn't design it. We just bought it because we liked it so much. Again, I don't understand the grid part of it. There's no grid trading going on. But let's just start with one piece at a time. Now, one piece at a time. So you're going to start out here. We'll be under the custom indicators. And here are the 4 pieces of this GRIDAlgo system. The bands, the cloud, the alerts, and the momentum indicator. I have them all turned off at the moment here. We're just doing them one at a time. So let's start with the foundation, and that would be the dual bands. So I've already got them applied here. So let's highlight them and take a look at what you're going to see. Now, at its core, much like any band system, right? The assumption you're making here is that over time, there will be a reversion to the mean. So a band system like this, it has some unique characteristics built into it. But at its core, that's the idea. If we get outside of the bands here, the assumption is that eventually we're going to revert to the mean, right? We could go to the midline here, which would be the mean in a reversion system like this. A reversion to the mean, or you could go from one extreme of the bands to the other. Now, if we open it up and look at it, right? Let's analyze it. Let's get right here. So I'm trying to get. There we go. Okay, so these are ATR based, so it's volatility based. What's the average true range? Over 133 bars, that's the half length. We are smoothing it. There's a couple of different choices here in terms of your smoothing options. If you're starting out with this, these are the defaults recommended by its original creator, but probably a good place to start, right? So particularly if you're doing a trial, let's go with what the designer proposes that you start with, right? Now tweak to your heart's content once you get comfortable with it and really understand what it's doing. So we have a very wide ranging outside. I put them in yellow so they're very easy to spot. And then we have an internal series of bands here, and they're tied to, we have a half length of 19, and we have a range here of, we have a 30 the period here for the tighter bands. The inside bands is 30 period with a 2.5 times ATR range. Okay, so you don't need to, again, when you're first starting with this, I would just leave the defaults, right? You'll be perfectly well suited with the defaults. Once everybody likes to tweak a little bit, right? Completely understand that. But you start tweaking once you're comfortable with what you're experiencing in the defaults, right? You might find something where you're like, oh, I want to tweak that, or someone who really has a lot of experience, maybe with trading with Renko or with other band approaches, plenty of customization available to you. This is just an excellent starting point. And with any indicator of ours, we always strongly recommend that you trial it. That's why we do the trial. right? You'll have 5 full trading days no matter what day you download the trial, right? You're always going to have 5 trading days to work with a product like this. So our strong suggestion is to work with it in sim. But if you insist on going to maybe a prop account, right? Start with the micros, right? It's always you got to learn it first before you start putting any real risk into it. Now maybe a prop firm, right? Your prop account, you don't consider that real money, but reset enough times it is. Okay, right? That's beside the point. Okay, so as we start here, coming in from the overnight, again, it's going to use the most recent data here. You can see here, now if you look at this, you're like, wow. Well, we see we're outside of the main band system is here in yellow. We're outside of the bands here. Well, that's telling me, hey, pay attention here. Potentially, we're going to reverse here. What do? We go to the other side of the bands. Wow. Right, here's another one here. We don't get all the way, but we come back again. Well, wait, another one. Now I'm outside of the bands. I make it to the mean, right? The center line is the mean. I do it again, right? Outside of the bands, straight to the other side. Other side of the bands, right? You're just like, oh my God, look how good this is. Holy shit, right? Well, okay, now slow down. One of the inherent features of this system and this band approach is that there's a built-in optimization, which you see right here. So what I've done in the settings of the bands, as I come down here, as we go to within the settings here, I've told it to optimize because I have 10 days of data loaded here, to optimize the outer bands, right? The yellow bands, which are the foundation of it. I want you to optimize that so that looking back historically, I want you to create the range so that only 10% of the price action gets outside of the bands. In other words, 90% of the price action is contained within the yellow bands. That's what I'm telling it to do. And it's optimizing to give me that result. So it's saying, okay, given a 133 period half-life over 10 days, the ATR to create that result of 10%, right? It's an approximation, 10%, in this case, 9.63, you're going to need a 4.35 times the average true range over the last 10 days. So you might look at that and go, oh, okay, so it's repainting. Well, yes and no. It is in the optimization historically. Where it stops repainting is on the hard right edge, right here. So we have optimized right to that moment in time. Then going forward, there is no repainting because you've already done the optimization. Now, you can choose to re-optimize. Should you be inclined to do that for some reason? Might be the bands have gone dramatically outside of the range, right, of what was optimized to the prior 10 days. So you could just refresh, right, reload the historical data. You could just reload it. It takes for 10 days. It might take 15 to maybe 30 seconds. Right? If you're doing it on a busy day, right, it's going to take a little time, right? It's just inherent with QT because there's a lot of processing going on. But that's an option for you. Certainly, if you're dramatically outside of the bands and just the range has exceeded, so 4.35 is not enough, well, you could re-optimize. And then again, always it stops the optimization from on the hard right edge of the market. So there is no optimizing going forward. It's only historically. That's an important point because when you first pull it up, you're going to be blown away. Like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Well, it's by design, right? It's going to be optimized to make it look like the best thing you've ever seen. But that doesn't mean that this doesn't produce value to you going forward if we know that, well, the last 10 days, this has contained 90% of the price action. That's giving you an immediate edge in the market, right? I suppose there's some, that's open to interpretation, but I would propose to you, you're getting that's information that's more valuable than not having it. How would we say it that way? So as we look at this now, we have a few other things on the chart here. Let's just go over them very quickly. So we see the triangles, right? The triangles are shown when the price action gets outside of the dominant bands, right? The outer bands, the yellow bands, right? And then if we get outside of that, we get these green little triangles here, right? Now, one of the little nuances here of the ideal setup here for entry is when we get a triangle that's higher than the prior. See, here we got one, right? The little squirt here, but then we're back, we're lower, then I get a higher. Straight to the mean. I don't get a second one here because I'm out for only the wick of that candle. Boom, straight. Look at this, literally to the tick to the other side. Now the little dots here, these are pullbacks. Right, they're pullbacks in the upper trend, in the dominant trend. So this move here establishes an uptrend, retrace, uptrend, retrace, uptrend, retrace, uptrend. Now this actually was just a great example here of how Renko can make the market structure very easy. Oh, let's see. Do I get an arrow here? Well, so this is the last time we go. Oh, do I get an arrow? Yeah, I'm gonna want a line here, right? So we've gone. Swing. It's not working with me. Come here. Swing. Oh, I like that. The one I have in Ninja. Right. Retrace. Right. I guess I have to do it this way. I've got to go. I swing. Right. So I've gone higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Well, you see what I was trying to do here with the drawing. I don't have the polygram here that I can find. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Failure swing. Right, of this from the lows down here, higher high, higher low, higher high. Right? Market structure is impossible to, well, shouldn't say it that way. Very hard to miss when you're working with Renko bars, right? Because it's doing it for you, right? It's again very hard to miss. So this was, you'll note here where we are, right? That's the initial balance high, right? This is the first test of the initial balance. It's throughout the course of the day, right? It never got tapped earlier in the day. Here's the very first test of the initial high, right? It's a trade that we've discussed for many years, very high probability. There's an algo that sits there, fades it every day. First test only. Now, that doesn't mean you might get some resistance here, but that's the easiest money on the board week after week after week after week. I've been saying this for many years. First test of the IBI. It's not 100%, but it's very high probability. Right? If you're looking at a footprint chart, you can literally see the reversal. So I digress, but just a word to the wise, right? It's there every day. Either first test, low, high, right? Algo fades it every day. Okay, right. So moving on back to the GRIDAlgo system: higher high, higher low, high, higher low, higher high. No, oh, wait a second, can't get back out. Then here, maybe this will be easier for me to do it this way, right? Now we get a break. Well, I mean, you could do it here as well, right? We're getting break of structure. Right, here's a break of structure here. Oh God, this is the trade of the day. Well, either of these would be just trade of the day. Trade of the day. Either this one, or let me get my arrow, or this one in particular. Just so good, right? Because they confirm. So we've had a change of character, right? The structure break. Shift in market structure. Lower low. Right, I finally get, if you're more conservative, you put it here, right? Because this would be change of character. This is break of structure. So we get a break here, retrace. I can't get to a new high. Great sell right there. Now you might look at it and say, but I didn't get outside the bands. But we didn't. Remember, it's optimized here. It's not like if it didn't get out of the bands, I can't take the trade. Well, we're pushing to the bands to the tick. I wouldn't shy away from that just because we didn't get outside the bands, right? It's a guide. It's a guide. Now, some will not take that trade because they're going to wait until it's outside of the bands, right? It's very high probability when we're outside of the bands, right? It's not 100%, but it's high probability when we get outside based on the historical volatility. But these are not to be ignored here. We're getting outside of the inside bands. We're coming up to touch it. Oh man, if I had, oh my God, here, here we go. I'm not as fast with QT as I'm with Ninja. Oh, the little order block here. Come up and tap it. Resistance. That's one thing about Renko is that you can see where the trend fails, right? Because it leaves the wick. Right, so something had to change here because there was an effort to go to get a new high. Fails, right? Fails. So those wicks can become, oh God, if I can get it right here, those wicks can become great little sections for. See if I can get it here, for support and resistance, right? Wick resistance. Now, though, you're probably got a measured move in there as well. If I pull it right, so we don't want to ignore things that we've already learned, right? So there we go, right to a golden zone, right? From the highest high to that current lowest low, come right to the golden zone. We've got this this wick rejection here. Oh, okay, well that's a trade, heads up. Where do we go? So, now, again, I know it's hindsight, right? But the market structure here should be hard to miss. again, you can see it failing, right? We're up, up, and I haven't even applied the other pieces of the puzzle. So those are things to look for, because I think when you put it all together, there's a lot to process. I think ideally understand each piece one at a time before you try and collectively put it all together. But you can see the arc of it, literally the arc of it. Right, look at the bands. The arc of the band shifting from bullish to bearish, right, towards the end of the day, and then we ultimately end up in the middle of the initial bounce. Right, it was a truly, by definition, a trendless day, and choppy. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you have to be really careful of this with Renko, because you can't guess. It's going. It's going. You can't do that. Not with Renko. You could blow through a grand right there in. Easily stopped on either side. It's going. But look where we are. You're right. You're not only are you in the middle of the outer bands, you're in the middle of the inner bands, right? This is absolutely no man's land. You do not want to trade here. Which with Renko, remember, we're after the bigger push. Now, one thing that Renko does nicely, the market likes to move in threes, and it really shows you the threes really nicely, right? You can, now I know, right? You can put threes, can be strung together, and you end up with a 5, right? You apply a little Elliott wave, right? We got 5s and 3s. But so the structure of the threes here really stands out, even in something like this, right? It's, again, you got to be very careful with this kind of stuff. You don't necessarily need to pick the turn. So let it get a little distance. Well, here would be an easy example. You want to wait for something to break here, something to break. And it's not, and it may be that you're going to be too close to the median, right, or to the center line before you get that confirmation. Well, then what do we get, right? We get the pullback, right, the little green dot here. So because we have an uptrend here, we get a trend up, we get a trend down, and now we're back up in an uptrend, right? So just a word to the wise, right? Don't ignore the little pullbacks, because a trend has been established. So there's the pullback, right? You can see all. Again, I mean, it's always easier after the fact, right? All of this support here as we're going up. So likely that's fib related, likely. Right? Let's just draw it from here. Oops. Can I get this? There it is. Okay, right. So from this low. Let's go back a pivot to these pivots here. You're coming in right at the 50, right? So swing high, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, all pullbacks. Now note here, we're not making it to the outer band. We're making it to the inner band. Right, so you don't want to just turn a blind eye to the inner bands, right? Because that's giving you, a smaller period of volatility. It's 19 period half length of the ATR, and I think we had 2 3/4 of ATR here. So note here, we're pinging the inside of those bands perfectly. Now you could look here and say, well, this would be the ideal setup here, because we've gone. If I scrunch this up a little bit, we've got a downtrend now. All the red dots are retracements in the downtrend. We don't get a higher triangle here, which is the ideal, but we do get a kind of a bumpy ride to the other side of it here, where I get dot, 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 then I get arrow. So the downtrend is established. I'm getting pullback dots. Then I get one triangle here, which is the marker for price going outside of the outer bands. I get outside of both sets of bands. That's the trade you want, right? That's one you want. Right here, again, probably fib related. If I can do it, see if I can do it. Another 50. So swing, retrace, triangle, right? If you waited for the triangle, you got compensated nicely. We went beyond the median to the other side of the bands, where I've got triangles on this side, where I go beyond the median, eventually make it to the other side of the bands. Okay, right, that's probably enough on that. So here's 24. Okay, that's kind of an introduction to it. We haven't even approached any of the other pieces. But to keep the videos on the shorter side, I'm already 24 minutes in. Let me pause there, and we'll go to part 2, and we'll add the other components of this, and then look at it on something beyond a Renko. We'll just look at it on a 1-minute chart. Okay, back to you on part 2.